once we get some final numbers. The numbers are not, they're still canvassing, they're still doing the provisional ballot counts. So we don't know exactly what all the numbers are, but there's some interesting numbers here that that we think aren't going to change substantially. First, back to the first point is, we think Senator McCain was probably the best candidate, Republican candidate, to run at this point in time. We think, I candidly think that his maverick style, his independent streak was the right match for Ohio at this point in time. Was probably the right candidate for us in this election and in this change election. I still believe that his ability to go after that independent vote, to go after that moderate Democrat, that Reagan Democrat, and move that person over, gave us the best possible chance of carrying the state of Ohio. And I think it's why Ohio may have been as close as it was. Obama did not win a landslide mandate, and we will be carefully watching what the Democrats say. He didn't win a mandate here. A mandate is what Reagan won in 1984 when he got 489 electoral college votes. It's what Nixon got in 1974 when he got 520 electoral college votes. We don't think Obama has a mandate here, and even though he has a Democrat House and Senate, we think he has to be very careful with how they proceed and the issues they advance, especially early on. Interesting little statistics here. Despite a grassroots army of 70 field offices, I heard my counterpart at the Democratic Party brag of 400 or 500 or 800 or 1,000 paid staffers, thousands of volunteers, millions of dollars in paid media, the biggest, as they described it, the biggest, most massive GOTV effort ever done in Ohio for a Democrat candidate since 1992. And yet Barack Obama received nearly 7% fewer votes in Ohio than George Bush did in 2004. He received 72,000 votes so far, 72,000 fewer votes than John Kerry. Those are just interesting. We've got to figure out what those are interesting points that deserve some more analysis. But for what was supposed to be huge field offices, a massive GOTV effort, a massive campaign, just a $700 million spent nationally, and Barack Obama receives 72,000 fewer votes than John Kerry did. Interestingly enough, Barack Obama was not the leading vote getter in the state of Ohio. Actually, Maureen O'Connor was the leading vote getter in the state of Ohio, and only had, in fact, she won all 88 counties and had one full-time campaign staffer who we think will now, as a result of this information getting out, might be the most well-compensated, well-heeled, most sought-after campaign staffer in the history of Republican Party politics ever. Interestingly, despite the claims of Democrat intensity and more than 600,000 new registered voters, nearly 500,000 fewer Ohioans voted in this presidential election than they did 4 years ago. And so, while there was this massive new registration, we actually had 500,000 fewer votes cast for president in this presidential election than we did in 2004. Turnout was nowhere near what was projected. The Secretary of State had projected 80%, 81% voter turnout. What were we at, 72% in 2004, and right now we're sitting at about 65% voter turnout, depending on ultimately what gets counted. So when you look at it, it's the Democrats made some gains and picked up some percentages, and there will be some interesting stories to tell in a lot of different counties around the state. But when you look at the dollars that were spent, with the impression that people have of this huge GOTV effort, of this huge massive operation, at the end of the day, I don't think the Democrat turnout effort resulted in anything more significant than what previous efforts have shown. And so we're taking a look at that. I think what the final analysis will have to include is whether or not Democrat excitement compared with Republican, with the fact that maybe some Republican-leaning voters were either stayed home, were dissuaded by the fact that they thought the election was already over, they thought this was going to be a landslide. We're going to have to do some further analysis of, especially in some of the historically Republican-leaning counties, to figure out Did people vote? Did they not vote? Why did they vote? How did they vote? But when you look at what was thought to be this massive ground operation, and yet we have fewer votes for Obama than we did for Kerry, when we have fewer votes in '08 than we had total cast in '04, there's some interesting things there that need to be looked at.